Hello, we are here with another special episode of Hub Culture Chronicles with Hubcast coming at you from Hub Culture Climate Campus in Belém, Brazil. We are at COP30 and today we are speaking with Moshe. We are so honored to have you here today. It is very exciting for me to have this conversation with you. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to COP30?
I got the shivers at the fact that you mentioned that we're here. I'm so honored to be here. It's fabulous. Why I came here is to recognize the importance of saving the Amazon for the people in the world, not just around the Amazon, but everyone who will be affected by what will happen here or how we can prevent it and not happen here and therefore not happen throughout the world in arid areas, for instance, the Middle East where I come from. And we will be in extreme danger probably before many other people as a result of this, but I don't know all of the science, but it seems most likely that if there's 30% less rainfall throughout the world, we will be the first to be hit.
Yeah.
And we know that a lack of water or food, or both, can cause conflict. It can cause mass immigration, which then causes conflict. And therefore, if we can prevent it, it will make everything more peaceful, more stable, make life better, and
Excellent.
Even enjoyable.
Enjoyable?
Yeah.
Yes. We have to move towards that. We got to be thriving, not just surviving,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Moving forward all the time.
Yes. So I hear you talking, when we were talking earlier today, you were saying that ecology doesn't stop at borders. And I would really love for you to expand on your ideas around shared ecosystems and speak a little bit about your kibbutz and what you're doing there.
Okay. I'll start with what you started with, and that is that ecology does not, or the climate also, does not stop at borders in particular. Ecology then is the next phase. What do we do with the rain that falls? What do we do with the sewage that we let out? I was the editor of an actual Israeli-Palestinian peace agreement called the Geneva Initiative Final Status Agreement in 2003. Which was negotiated between a Palestinian delegation and an Israeli delegation. Neither were officially representing their governments, but we're talking about very high-level people, chiefs of staff of police and armies, politicians and academics, etc. And the depth of the agreement went, not by coincidence, into the issue of how water will be divided, because we have very little water to divide among us. And generally, the strongest take the most water. And then also the problem with polluting aquifers and ruining the nature of trees and of natural growth, and affecting agriculture also, which affects both sides.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have within Israel and the Palestinian areas, we have olive trees that go back over 1,000 years.
Yes.
And I know that Israel is a very high-tech agriculture company. It leads the world in drip irrigation and other technologies that we should be distributing as best as possible. And we have to be able to make more of the land that we have and not abuse it and not let it dry up as a result of not having enough water, or taking water from our aquifers that will eventually leave us possibly with food for a while, but we won't have drinking water after a while. So that's when agriculture starts to die out, and then we have a dire situation.
Exactly.
Now there's an institute, an ecological institute in the very south of the country, down near where the Red Sea is, the border between Jordan and Israel, and it's called the Arava Institute of Ecological Studies. And they have been working for decades on this kind of stuff, about how to best use the limited water resources we have, how to make sure that we plow and cultivate the land in an effective way that traps water. And earlier we were talking about a kibbutz that I helped form in the Negev desert in the southern half of Israel. There were only 17 people when I arrived, and there were no sidewalks or grass or anything, and it was rough. It was huge amounts, 150 hectares of land.
Goodness.
And it was divided between 2.5 of us who would wake up every morning at 4 and end the day at 8 in the evening, plowing and whatever, and planting. And finally, when you're finished planting in the middle of January, the first rain falls, and you come back a month later, and the desert, which was light brown dust before, all of a sudden becomes green. And it's
So
absolutely
beautiful.
amazing. It's like
So
having 100 children born on this day. And this, why is it so, not miraculous, but it's so, it's such an important, how should we call it, impetus for other people to take from, is because that kibbutz was formed beyond what we call the drought line. In other words, we almost get no rain there. So we would plow the soil, wait for the first year rain to come, close the soil. The water that rained would sink in, and then before the next rain of the next winter, we would open the soil again. The rain falls, close it up, plant the wheat or barley, and then eventually wait and harvest. And it works. And it's without irrigation, without replenishing the aquifers or using whatever water that I mean, let's face it, Israel also is a very high level of desalination plants. We're building more and more. In fact, where I live, there's one being built right now about 2 kilometers away. But as much desalination as we will have, it won't be used for agriculture. It'll be used for the everyday purposes of people at home and in businesses. So we have to take more care of what we use. So this peace agreement, the Geneva Initiative Final Status Agreement, went into all of that stuff. It went also beyond that, for instance, into the frequencies of airwaves, which country which will get what frequencies on AM, FM for airplanes to communicate, etc. And people are thinking, oh yeah, right, that's really going to happen. We already have, and most people don't know, great cooperation between the Israeli government, which I am not a great supporter of, to say the least, but it is something that's been existing for years on security issues between the Israeli government and the Palestinian Authority, which have prevented huge amounts of terror attacks within Israel or within the territories. And the cooperation exists and it works.
Yes.
Are these both the entities that I wish were there controlling it? No. I know the reality of the Palestinian Authority, and it has lots of work to do. And I'm supporting the new plan to have elections in a half a year. Yeah. In fact, I actually was in a meeting with the president of the Palestinian Authority 11 days after this agreement was just signed to have the ceasefire. It's not a peace agreement, but it is still better than fighting right now. And then we have to make sure that it moves from a ceasefire into a final end to this war, and then begin the next phase of allowing people to start rebuilding their homes and their lives. Now, most of those people live in Gaza.
Yes.
Many also live in the West Bank, but what most people don't know is there are also friends of mine who live in other kibbutzim, the plural of kibbutz, along the Lebanese border, and were refugees for a year and a half. They couldn't go back to their houses. Many of their houses were destroyed by anti-tank missiles and stuff. So yeah, horrible stuff going on also within Israel. And once people begin to rebuild their homes, they also start rebuilding their lives.
Yes.
And this is when things can start moving in the direction where we try actually to end the conflict, not the war.
So it sounds like where we started the conversation, that your idea of a shared ecology, and when we start to work together in that space, that it can actually help lead to more peace.
It's two ways. It's what we call a mutual future.
Yes.
And that isn't a simple thing to talk about when you've been at war for 2 years, but France and Germany have done it.
Yes.
2 world wars, and they succeeded. Yeah. And it exists today beyond anyone's dreams of 60 years ago.
Exactly.
70 years ago, who would have thought?
It sounds like you're saying peace is possible.
It's not only possible, people neglect to remember, I'll put it that way. People neglect to remember that Israel has a peace agreement made with Egypt, which was the largest army in the Arab world at the time. They were our biggest enemy.
Yeah.
And even the prime minister, who at the time was not of the party that I supported, he signed a peace agreement and gave back the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt. And although there isn't great Egyptian tourism in Israel, or
Vice
the
versa.
inverse direction, we don't spend tremendous amounts of money or reserve duty time on the Egyptian border, because even though we're not great friends and hugging each other and visiting each other for coffee or whatever, we're not fighting. Just like in Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland, between the Catholics and the Protestants, were what they call the Troubles for years, and thousands of people were killed and many tens of thousands were injured until the women of Northern Ireland finally said, no, this is not getting anyone anywhere. And they demanded from their politicians to come up with a solution. And the Good Friday Agreement came along. And now they still don't love each other.
They don't.
And if you drive down a street in major cities of Northern Ireland, you'll see a wall on each side of the street. And on one side, the Catholic side, you'll see flags of Palestine in the whole area. And on the other side of the street, on the other side of the wall, you'll see flags of Israel on the Protestant side, because they've morphed their understanding of who is the rebel and who is the power and taken on these two sides. And I've been to Ireland and I loved it, and no one thought anything of it, and I totally enjoyed it. And so we must get to that point where we don't have to hug each other. I'm willing to live for 40 or 50 years without a war, going through a reconciliation process where we sit and talk about the crimes our armies or factions or fighters have committed.
Yes.
Those of us personally who have done things which were wrong will come out and admit to them, just like in the South Africa reconciliation process.
Exactly, and
this,
also in the Rwanda.
The important part of this is not because of the fact that two leaders will come together and sign papers. Any agreement that is signed has to be supported by the people, or it won't hold water. Excuse the fact that we're sitting here talking about water. But
yes.
Unless the people get behind it. So reconciliation is a part of that, to get people to understand, look, I've heard your narrative. You've explained it to me. I don't agree with everything you've said about it, but I will accept the fact that that is your narrative, and I'm not going to change your mind, and vice versa. You will hear my narrative, you won't like parts of it, and we will get along. We are going to learn that because there are 7 million Jews between the river and the sea, and an equal number of Palestinians between the river and the sea, and I'm not talking about in either state, I'm talking about in general, there are 7 million and 7 million, not versus. 7 million and 7 million means no one's going to win these wars, and they continue. Everyone will lose in every war. Some will lose a little more, some will lose a little less. The numbers are not symmetrical, obviously, but I have buried too many people and taken part in too many funerals and condolence visits to people. Also not Jews in Israel. I went to a home of not far in a city, a Muslim city not far from me. 40,000 Muslims live there. And an Iranian missile took a direct hit on a safe room in the home of a man who quickly put his 4 daughters into the safe room and his wife, but he and another daughter didn't get in when the Iranian missile destroyed the house and killed all the people in the safe room. Because the safe room is only good for a small rocket, not for a huge ballistic missile. And so I was there in a condolence visit to him, and we in the Western Galilee where I live, near the Lebanese border, it's an area of 70% non-Jews, Muslims, Christians, Druze, and it doesn't matter because we get along very well, and we each know a bit of our language, and we each invite each other to our happy ceremonies, etc.
Why do you think that is? What are there different rules? Is there a different culture in Galilee that allows for that cooperation? And as you said, you all get along.
I think the statistical realistic understanding of the facts, that we are only 30% of the population there, makes it incumbent upon us to get along with everybody. And because you can't go to a doctor's office and not come in contact with Arabs from the Galilee. Most of the doctors in our hospitals are from the Arab communities or cities, and so are the ambulance staffs, and so are the people who run the trains and the buses. And we're all part of this integral reality. It's not just a system. Everything around us is mixed. Now, when you go to the center near Tel Aviv, for instance, people see an Arab walking down the street and it looks suspicious because there aren't Arabs all around. And so, unfortunately, there's this bad attitude. It isn't necessarily racism, it's a fear of the other walking through a neighborhood where they're not really supposed to be. I mean, they could be, but yeah, it's not quite the same. In Jerusalem, there's a huge mix because it's a mixed city. Mm-hmm. I live 3 kilometers from a mixed city of over 4,000 years old called Akko, and amazing. It's amazing. We've had difficulties. I won't say we hadn't had difficulties because there are extremists on all sides, not only both sides. There are extremists everywhere. And unfortunately, they make the headlines. They make the news. When we do peaceful things, we don't make the news.
Exactly. I was actually going to touch on that. We were talking about how there were protests going on, very peaceful protests for 39 straight weeks. Over 200,000 people in the streets peacefully protesting.
Every week.
Every week.
And sometimes more often when the prime minister fired the minister of defense, another 150,000 appeared in the streets within an hour.
So I know we're saying 150,000, 200,000. Can you give us a comparison of what that would be?
America, the United States, the United States is 34.4 times the size of Israel in population. So therefore, 200,000 Israelis is the equivalent of 6,800,000 Americans. When was the last time you saw 1 million Americans get out together across the United States? It's happened recently, but only very recently.
Only very recently.
And in fact, there was one that had somewhere in the area of 4 or 5 million, but once.
Yes.
We were out there for 39 straight weeks protesting against our government. And another fact to remember, because most people don't even know it, is that 70% of Israelis don't believe our government. Yeah. That tells you a lot.
A lot.
And the protests have gotten ugly, but not because of the protesters mainly, but because of, as we know in most countries, the police try to use what force is necessary to keep it, either kick it out, get rid of it, or whatever, let the traffic flow, as opposed to peaceful protesting and allowing that to happen. And so we're reaching very dangerous proportions and control in the country, in Israel, by the government. And that with touching the politics very shortly, our government is not like the United States government, where you have 2 main parties and whoever wins the closest to 50% becomes the government. We have a coalition government system. Right. So Netanyahu lost 5 elections in a row within 3 years. We had a cycle of 5 elections. In the 5th one, he said, I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to win, and if I don't win, I'm going to the courts. I'm being tried on 3 felonies. I'm going to do prison time. I can't do that. So what did he decide to do? Something that was absolutely forbidden until that point. He brought in the most racist, fascistic, nationalistic, and anti-democratic forces in the country into his government to be able to reach the 61 seats in the Knesset, our parliament, to have the majority. In doing that, he then had to feed them. What did he do? He made this one man who was one of the most radical elements in Israel, who is a convicted felon for having supported a Jewish terror group. Yeah. He made him the man in charge of the security services inside the country, not the army and externally, but wow. I mean, yeah, so things are really, really bad. It's becoming fascism to the level that there's no question about it anymore. Back in 2016, I told people fascism is not on its way to Israel, it's here. That was when they started attacking NGOs that were helping Palestinians capture on video what was any kind of war crimes and stuff like that. They burned down the offices in Jerusalem. That's fascism. It's the real thing. And it's not quite like in America where people are being dragged off into cars and disappearing forever, but it is very dangerous, very scary, and we've already had one assassination of a prime minister, and now there is definite fear, absolute realistic fear that someone is going to get assassinated.
Yeah.
And I've been attacked at protests. My son and I were attacked. We used to hand out, for every Friday, we would hand out 500 flowers to people at a junction in the Western Galilee. And at the red light, we would offer them flowers and say, for tolerance and against racism. And people would smile and they'd take the flowers. 500 every weekend, every Friday. We handed out over 3 years, 42,500 flowers, and we felt the influence.
Incredible. Absolutely.
But yeah, not everybody understands what we're talking about. And so we have a lot of work still to do.
And what do you believe? So I know you strongly believe that peace is possible, that it's necessary, it's inevitable. And what helps you keep that faith that it is? Over all that we just discussed that you laid out, what keeps your faith in peace and that in its possibilities?
I believe in people. I don't believe in religions that promise us things. And it's not that I'm looking not to believe in religion, but when I talk to people on a personal basis, it usually makes a crack in the wall that people put up to separate us. For instance, I have realized that I do not contain hate within me against anyone. I don't hate anyone because I understand what causes them to do what they do, either in love or acts of violence or hatred. And in understanding that, I have to realize what we have to do, first of all, with education.
Yes.
Because not all parents educate their children properly, and through proper education, we can reduce the anxieties and the misunderstandings that come from ignorance of another. And then that ignorance says, wait a second, what's going on? Who is this? I'm not sure I like this. This guy looks like the kind of... No. You look at a person and you say, hey, how are you?
Yes.
Good to see you. And you don't even have to know the person. You just say good morning, and you've already started off well, and things happen from that. And it passes on. And
also something that, an experience I had when I was living in Japan for 6 years. Japan is ethnically 98.9% Japanese. And there really are no Arab people in Japan. You don't really see them. I grew up in New Jersey, and there's a very large Arab population there. And I have very close friends who are of all different ethnicities in the Arab world. Just to say, like, I love Arab people, and I've never seen an Arab person walk down the street. It was always like, oh, that's family. Those are friends. They're cousins, exactly, in our nomenclature. So while living in Japan for 6 years, it was also the time during Obama's presidency, and there was a lot of anti-Arab hate going on.
Especially after 9/11.
Yes. Well, yes, exactly. But this was 2009, so it was a little bit past that, but there was still so much because of President Obama and his last name, and there was just a lot.
They tried to install his middle name, Hussein, into the name to make sure that people are fearful of him.
Exactly. So, long story short, when I come back to America, because in the background, I was just receiving lots of negative information, and I'm not seeing any Arab people. When I came back to America, and I'd be walking around my neighborhood, and I would see an Arab person, there was something happening inside of me. I was fearful, and I was like, that's not me. Like, I don't believe that.
A fearfulness that caused anxiety?
Yes. And I had to call one of my really good friends, and because it got so bad. At first I was like, no, that's not real.
What got bad was your reaction, not the reality.
Exactly. Yes. My reaction. So eventually I saw 2 Arab men walking towards me, and I physically it was like, and when that happened, and they saw it, they recognized it, and it broke my heart. I called my friend.
Of course.
Crying. It still impacts me.
Sure.
I called her and I was like, Netta,
Yeah.
I think I just offended one of your uncles. Like,
Wow.
I don't understand what's happening. And she's such a beautiful soul.
It's natural.
And she looked at me and she was like, Rebecca, you've been away for 6 years. Like, just come to my house. All you have to do is come and be back in community with us. And within hours, this will go away. And she was 1,000,000% right.
What helps prevent that situation is learning a bit about, I'm sorry for your feeling. If you learn a bit about their culture and you're in this situation again and you walk by or approach people that are approaching you and you say, Sabah al-Khair, and that already tears down any of their possible fears also of you.
Exactly.
They might fear you. And when you meet people and know how to address them in their language, then it really is laying out a welcome mat.
Exactly.
There's no problem. It's terrible to say some of my best friends are Arabs, but in reality, it is true because I also, in my role in the steering committee of the Forum of Israeli Peace NGOs, which is an umbrella organization of all of the leading peace organizations in Israel, of Peace Now, Women Wage Peace, Standing Together. Yeah, good stuff.
Very good stuff.
So I try to make contact with people who are of a position that can help promote our mutual future. So for instance, the Imam of Akko is a very good friend of mine. He's one of the only people in the world that when I just see him, I get goosebumps. I'm so excited. A man of peace who speaks so eloquently. And I was also an advisor to a member of Knesset who was a friend of him, a Muslim member of Knesset in Israel. And we're friends until today. And we see each other, and it's such a good feeling. It's such a wonderful feeling. And these people helped me hand out flowers at this junction. And they brought the football team of Akko, who had Jews and Arabs in it. And you see top league football players handing out flowers to people.
That's so beautiful.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I won't say it prevents everything.
No. But coming back to your people power and that even your percentages of people who are protesting, and 70% of Jewish Israelis don't believe their government, or is it 70%
in general?
In general.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Like even more powerful.
That represents voting.
I was just going to say, and what strikes me, and one of the things that I've noticed throughout my career and working in this peace field, is that also through studying history, there are no institutions, there are no governments that save us. It comes from the people, just like you were saying in Ireland.
There are institutions who are working for peace or working for a mutual future.
Yes.
But they're not the government. They may get some funding for the government, and if the government doesn't like what they're doing, then they get less funding.
Exactly.
But this is the kind of stuff that should be in the curriculum of every kid. Every Jewish child in kindergarten should start learning Arabic because he hears Hebrew at home. And the inverse, every Arabic-speaking child should be in kindergarten learning Hebrew. Now, we have open schools and kindergartens of mixed languages.
That's beautiful.
Right in my area.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what happens when that occurs. The kids come home from school and they start talking to their parents in the other language, and the parents don't know what they're saying. And it's kind of funny.
It can be like code for the siblings.
Yeah, it's pretty funny to begin with, but then the parents have the inspiration to go and study the other language.
Exactly.
Now, I have a Facebook page that I call Taking a Selfie with Your Other, where I invite people just to figure out whatever they think is their other, man and woman, Jew and Arab, doesn't matter, homosexual and straight, whatever, doesn't matter. Take a photo of you and your other and put it there, just saying, hey, nobody's better than me. I'm no better than anybody else, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We're all equal. We have to live here together. We might as well enjoy it. I'm obviously not a racist, but I consider myself what I would call a racialist, and probably someone would correct me on that. But what I mean is that I enjoy the differences between us. I want to eat Arab food. I want to dance a debka, which I do, and I eat hummus, and I dance a debka. I love it. And
I
want
learned the Depka.
Yeah,
Yes,
and I
it's
want to
beautiful.
understand the language, because in the language you get a real depth of the culture.
Me too.
Most modern or Western world people come up and they shake hands and they say, "Hi, how you doing?" "Good." "Okay." So then they start talking. We don't ever have time. We have, especially Israelis, we never have time we're very impatient. Yeah. They say the shortest measurable amount of time in Israel is between the light turns green and somebody starts honking to get you out of the way. Very short. We're very short-tempered, and probably more now after the war. Anyway, I don't remember why I was talking about that, but the fact being that you can really make an impact and cross this barrier because of the Arabic. You start off with a good morning, and it starts off with sabah el khair, and then someone says sabah el ward, which is a morning of roses, and then the third person comes back with something even better to make it. It's this long introduction, and then the next phase is, so how are you? How's the family? How's your grandpa? And you ask about everything. We're not talking about business yet. We're not talking about why we really want to talk to it, but that's really what we want to talk about.
Yes.
That's the important stuff.
It was very fascinating for me. I grew up on the East Coast and I recently moved to Michigan, and Dearborn has a very large
The largest Muslim community in the United States.
Yes. And it was very interesting for me to experience this very long, I'm like, I just want a cup of coffee. And they're like, hi, it's so great. And it's like, I had to take a step back and be like, no, this is actually really beautiful.
You take part in it.
People actually want to hear the answer of
flow.
How are you?
You flow.
And they like really want to know.
You've just
It's
translated
beautiful.
from Arabic, but the culture of Arabic. I
Yes.
try to do that in Hebrew too. Hi, how are you? So how's the family? Put everything, even though it's urgent work stuff or whatever, it'll wait another half a minute.
Exactly.
And have that connection. And when you see each other and you hug, makes all the difference in the world.
It really does.
Yeah.
And just to round out our conversation as we're coming up to the end of our time together, I'm looking at these incredible pictures behind us. And I want to bring back our conversation about ecology, the desert, and resilience, and ask you to expand a little bit on this concept and idea of resilience, and if there's anything that being in the desert and farming there and that very slow, incredible process that you described, is there any connection that you see to how we build more peace?
The word connections goes far beyond ecology, politics, religions, countries. It's all intertwined. We will not succeed with saving this if we only deal in one aspect of it. We need the politics.
Yep.
We need the people, education. We need the economics to be able to move it. It's got to flow. It's just like natural gas. It doesn't flow in a pipeline. You have to condense it and make it liquid before it'll flow. We got to do that. We've got to condense all of these ideas into movable stuff and get the people behind it.
Yes.
If people continue to fear their other within a country, like in Israel, there are those who are racists against Arabs and Arabs who are racist against Jews.
Absolutely.
We have to get them to understand that, first of all, together, we're going to have to make this work with our neighbors. Now, as a political activist also, I'm among those people, like I said, from the Geneva Initiative Final Status Agreement that talks about exchanging land and Israel leaving land that is under Arab control currently, not with large settlement blocks. The large settlement blocks in the negotiations will remain there and be annexed into Israel. But the equal amount of kilometers, square kilometers, that will be annexed will be given to the Palestinians somewhere else. And it's already been agreed upon.
Yeah.
We know where it's going to happen. So this kind of stuff has to slowly but surely erase those borders. But the borders will have to be there for us to be able to learn, like in Northern Ireland, to live together separately and move together separately. And once we do that, then we can start working together. Or no, we've already started, but we can actually make real cooperation and collaboration for the better of all of us and the region.
Yeah.
We can make this move together. Just simple idea from Northern Ireland. There's a football club one football club in the Irish League that are from Northern Ireland, Derry City Football Club. What did they decide to do? It's pretty interesting. They decided to take the management and include Protestants and Catholics. And then the actual managers of the team were Protestant and Catholic. And then the players are Protestant and Catholic. Can you guess who the fans are that come to the stadium?
Everyone.
Protestants and Catholics.
Yes.
And I'm trying to get an opening ceremony at one of their games for a Palestinian and Israeli contingent of players to come and have a ceremony to say, hey, you're the lead. We want to follow. Help us. But in Israel, we need those who support Israel to get behind a different type of Israel, to get us back on track to being that nation that will lead, be the vanguard among nations. There are many things in which we do that, but we're being blocked from really influencing and getting to where we need to go because people don't really support. But now, I'm not trying to get people to support Israel because I have a few different sayings. One is that to be truly pro-Israeli, you have to be equally pro-Palestine. And the inverse, to be actually truly pro-Palestine, you must be truly pro-Israeli, because the 7 million of them and the 7 million of us, let's cut to the chase.
Yeah.
And therefore, that includes the management of our ecology and everything, all the way down the line. And I hope that one day my friends from the West Bank will come and have hummus in Akko next to us in the Mosque of Akko, which is the fourth holiest in Islam, and that we religious Jews who are, I'm not religious, but those religious Jews who want to go to Hebron and pray at the burial place of our ancestors and the ancestors of all of the Abrahamic peoples, yeah, let's flow. Let's get those people from Egypt to come visiting, and we'll go visit. Yeah. All of these things have to open up, which will allow also the management, proper management of resources,
right,
natural and economic and human resources, to end all of this insanity. We can do it.
Peace is possible.
It is absolutely possible.
It is.
When people say, how do you have hope? You touched on that in the beginning. Yeah. I didn't run away from it, but all of a sudden I remembered an example. The people who formed my kibbutz, the first community to be formed after the Declaration of Independence in 1948, 95% of them were Holocaust survivors. And the fact that they would form something like that together was a statement of strength and of what they really wanted to do. Now, were progressive people who live a socialist lifestyle. Nobody wanted to become millionaires. We wanted to live in our own democratic homeland. And just like the Palestinian people deserve a homeland, so do the Jewish people.
Absolutely.
And the fact that we would have two, one does not negate the other. As long as we do have democracy and we try to make everyone, and we have a lot of work to do on that also within Israel, since the passing of the nation-state law, which was absolutely racist, and yeah, I don't have to go into that. I'm sure it makes sense. So we have a lot of work to do, but this kind of stuff, tear away at the bad, destroy it, bury it, get rid of it, and make all along the way educate people as to what can be done. Now, why did I talk about the Holocaust survivors? I say to people, excuse me, if I were to walk up to one of those Holocaust survivors a week before the gates opened at Auschwitz, and I'd say, can you imagine that in another week, those gates, they're going to open, and you're going to be able to walk out? And they'd look at me like, they wouldn't even look at me. They wouldn't even think of it. And I said, can you imagine that in 3 years, there's going to be an agreement between Germany and France, and they're going to get along. And 4 years after that, they're going to start the process of a European Union. And after that, look, you're going to get into your Peugeot or your Citroën in Paris and drive all the way to Berlin and not even have to bring a passport. No one's going to check you at a border. The border's just going to be a sign, welcome to Germany. Yeah. And they'd say, absolutely, what are you eating? Or what are you smoking? Or what? And these are people who are, what are the chances that they would make it out of these Auschwitz or other concentration camps? And they formed my kibbutz. Yes. Of course, you have to imagine that things are possible. So absolutely, peace is possible, and it's the only way.
Yes.
And that includes the ecology and everything else. Humanity.
Humanity. So beautiful. Thank you so much
for
this conversation. Ooh, let's cheers to peace.
Cheers to peace. Peace tastes good.
Peace is beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was such
My
an
pleasure.
honor and pleasure to speak with you. Can you tell folks out there where they can find out more about your work and get in touch?
Sure. You can look at my Facebook page. I don't know if my name appears in the credits or anything. Moshe, M-O-S-H-E, Chertoff, C-H-E-R-T-O-F-F. I do a lot of my posting there. You can also look for the Forum of Israeli Peace NGOs. We were among the people who actually created 2 peace conferences during the war that nobody heard about.
Oh my goodness.
Huge peace conferences, and they were wonderful. So there is a lot of work being done in Israel, and it's beginning to happen now in Palestine, although they've got all of the odds against them because they have to deal with the rebuilding of their families and friends. I have friends in the fields, across the fields from me in the northern western Galilee, that have had their families decimated, their homes destroyed, and I got phone calls that they've lost family members in Gaza. They have a lot of work to do, and we have to support them.
Yes.
Israelis
and when we
everyone.
say we, I was going to say, when we say we, it's everyone, and
That's
supporting both sides, Palestinians and Israelis, to come together and truly
And Americans who
build that
helped
peace.
pay for what the Israeli army did.
Yes.
And so people shouldn't misunderstand. Everyone, every army, every nation has the right to defend itself. But when we went from retaliation and to prevent more missiles coming, there were 600 missiles on the first day of the attack. To prevent more missiles from coming in, we went from retaliation to revenge is where it started going wrong. And the people who were poisoned into believing about the horror about the other, they're all like that. There are no innocent Gazans, etc. This is a matter of hatred, which is a matter of ignorance. And it was forced
Ignorance
upon...
and fear.
Yes, but it was forced upon a lot of people who lost their families and whatever. And so we have a lot of work to do. And those of us who have some responsibility for what has happened, we have to get behind it.
Absolutely. And I keep coming back to the water and to how you're farming and the slow, incredible process. But it takes cultivation, and that's what will help peace truly grow in that region.
If everybody does their part,
Exactly.
it's doable.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again so much, Moshe. It's been an honor.
Thank you for
and
the
a pleasure.
opportunity.